Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Small Business Small Talk, a show to educate on business tactics, inspire you with new ideas, to engage you at a new level in your business and community, and guaranteed to entertain you a little along the way. I'm your host, Christy Smallwood. I'm the Chief Strategic Guide and owner of Eagle Eye Strategies, a strategy-first business that helps you break the status quo of business as usual, help bring some order to chaos, spark inspiration, and light fires of action under your butt to make sure that you get it done, and to educate, engage, and empower business leaders all over the world. So that's a lot in a small little nutshell there. But I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor partner, which is the Chamber of St. Matthews. If you are not a part of your local chamber, I highly recommend it. It is a great way to make business connections in your community, as well as know that there is a support system for you, especially in times of global pandemics. You have a place to go to be able to share with other business owners and like-minded people to help your business get stronger and better. And again, make those connections, make new friends. And I do want to give a shout out to the Chamber because a lot of my guests have been coming there. In 2020, I revamped this podcast, this show, into something a little different so that we can focus on spotlighting those members of the Chamber and members in the local business community that are small business people just like you. And we all go through these struggles. We all go through the same kinds of things together. So I want to give a huge shout out again to the Chamber because my next guest that I'm super pumped about is also from the Chamber. She's a fellow Chamber member, Tara Branch with Vacations by Tara. And you heard that right. Vacations, y'all.
Vacations.
And at this point, if you haven't taken one, you probably need one real bad and you're trying to figure it all out. So I'm excited to talk with Tara today with you guys, our listeners or watchers, because she's got a great story as well as she definitely knows her stuff. Now, I do my own travel agent stuff on the side as part of my Eagle Eye Strategies business, but not to the level that Tara does. And so she just got back from Sandals. Yeah.
That's Royal Caribbean.
Yeah. So we'll be able to talk about all kinds of stuff. But first, Tara Branch, Vacations by Tara. Tell us more about you. What's the backstory? How did you get started in all this?
So I was actually a teacher for 20 some years. I believe it's upward of actually 25. So I went into education to be an elementary teacher. And then along the way, I discovered preschoolers. And I just loved the preschoolers. I just loved them. And first out of college, I do love to travel. So I moved to Japan for a year and taught English, living in Japan. So then I came home and finally I found a job teaching preschool. And I just fell in love with preschoolers and I just never left. So for the last a lot of those years,
it was a long pause.
Well, since 2000, I actually started teaching special needs preschool. So, and then last year was my last year teaching. So I'd opened the travel agency. I was looking for a getting out of teaching plan, chasing 3-year-old autistic children. While I loved every moment of it, it gets hard on the body after a while. It just really gets hard on the body. You know, my room faced the outdoors, the great outdoors.
Ooh.
And so they would open the door and go straight out. And
oh, wow.
You know, I'm 5 foot tall and I am not exactly svelte like a gazelle. But you'd be surprised how fast I could move after those children when you So, you know, it was just getting hard on me. And it was getting to the point where I was doing a lot of testing. I was doing a lot of paperwork. I was doing a lot less of the things that I loved. So I became a travel agent and spent the first 3-4 years just being very part-time, just kind of word of mouth, just getting my feet wet, doing a lot of training. And then I guess it was end of January, first part of February, I went to a training with my host agency, and it's, you know, rah, rah, you can do this. My bookings were way up because January, February are very busy for travel agents.
Yep.
Bookings were way up. things overall were looking good from the previous year going into January and February. So my husband and I sat down and we said, let's do it. Let's do it. I also teach English online to Chinese children. So he's like, as long as right now that's consistently paying the mortgage, do it. Go
Do
for
it.
it. Go for it, honey. So, okay. So got to that point. End of February last year, I turned in my letter of resignation effective at the end of the year. And then COVID.
Of course it did. Oh, we laugh because it just seems so crazy. And this is not an unfamiliar story at this point with COVID, is that there's so many people who either ramped up their business, revitalized, started new ones, and then it's almost like the very next week, everything just gets shut down. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. So I was very lucky at the beginning because I wasn't scrambling. I didn't have anybody out of the country. I didn't have
Oh
anybody.
my gosh. Yeah.
The other agents were scrambling to get people home to cancel trips that were starting in a day or two. So I was very lucky that at that point, almost all of my bookings were summer and fall. So I wasn't scrambling like everybody else was at that point. But,
Yeah.
we were hit from probably the first industry that was hit.
Yeah.
And we're really the last one coming back. It's starting to pick up a lot, but not across the board. So,
yeah, events, anything that was travel, event, hospitality related, first one to shut down, last one to come back.
Yep. So, what we've spent as travel agents doing this year is canceling and rebooking trips, and then canceling and rebooking that trip, and then canceling and rebooking that trip. So, 3, 4, 5 times the work for each booking that we've had.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
And God love all those people who think they can, well, and you can absolutely book travel all by yourself.
Mhm.
But if you were caught in that first couple of weeks, you were stuck without
Right.
an agent.
Well, one of the online travel agencies, a very large one,
They shut down, didn't
they shut down, and they had the people that were currently traveling, they hadn't paid any of their hotel bills.
they?
So people were stuck out of the country getting notes from the resort saying, you can't leave the property until this is paid.
Ow.
Yeah. So, it shut down and pretty quickly. So, obviously not a good business model for them, whatever they were doing. It wasn't the best business model. But yeah, they left a lot of people stranded and high and dry. And then right now, just even trying to figure out, COVID testing and when you have to be COVID tested and, do you have to fill out a health form and, whereas I do all that for them and provide them that information.
Yeah. And then what happens whenever you're trying to get home? Like, do you have to be tested before you leave and before you come home?
Some places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that gets super confusing very quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes. So, and, just the insurance aspect of it. So, right after COVID happened, almost all of our third-party insurance companies did away with cancel for any reason plans.
Oh, yeah.
Because there used to be those, and you'd get 50 to 75% of your money back.
Yeah.
Which, 75% is better than nothing. Now, a lot of our suppliers have kept the cancel for any reason plans. So I know who to book you with that you can still get a cashback cancel for any reason policy, not a voucher cashback. And I just had some people that were supposed to go to a Sandals for a honeymoon. They were impacted by COVID. $6,000 honeymoon, $6,000 honeymoon.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't do it. We had the cashback cancel for any reason policy. They had their money back on their card within a week.
See, and that's why it's important to use an agent, because an agent knows those kinds of things.
Right.
If you're floundering on your own, you're going to get taken advantage of because they want to keep their money.
Right.
They don't want to just give it back.
Mhm.
So having this third party to help you with that. And not only that, like, so back in the like pre-COVID times, uh,
Before days.
the before days, yeah, the before times, as a mutual friend of ours, Stephen Michael Carr, would say, the before times, um, when, well, let's just say somebody was traveling internationally and something happens, like, you can name it, something gets stolen, they break a leg,
Mhm.
something happens. How do you handle that by yourself?
Right.
And so an agent is highly important.
Yes. We're going to help you with all of that. We're going to help get you home. You know, we're going to hook you up if you have pre-existing conditions. Make sure you have a policy with pre-existing condition clause. Um, you know, and I hate to say this, but medical evacuation is a really important part of insurance sometimes, because to get you home emergency while you're having medical issues is really expensive. And so some of the insurance actually covers medical evacuation.
I see, you don't really, those are some things that you just don't think about when you're planning
Mhm.
a trip. You just want to go have fun,
Right.
which is totally understandable. But the insurance part of it is super important to have, because what if,
Hmm.
and that,
Well,
because I've been on a trip, on mission trips. So I've been to Romania, been to the Philippines. And when we were in Romania, we had a lady who busted her leg, and it was busted in multiple places. And
mhm,
so, not only did we have to get her from Tinka to, we had to get her a whole country over to get to the hospital, to the, better hospitals. And then we
mhm,
had to make sure she got out of the country. And it was had we not had an agent, none of us knew what to do.
right. Well, and then you have, people say, well, I don't need the insurance because I'm going on that trip.
That's not the
You,
point.
well, and it is the point sometimes, because you don't just not buy car insurance because you're not going to have a wreck. So I can't tell you how many people I know that have had a death in their immediate family the day before they were to leave on a cruise or a trip, or they've had just recently somebody I know, he booked a cruise himself and didn't buy any insurance, not even through the cruise line, which is not always your best option, by the way. So didn't buy any insurance. So when his wife fell and broke her arm and was going to have surgery that they thought was going to fall during their cruise, he was really upset that the cruise line wasn't going to refund his money. No, they offer insurance. And that's why. And luckily, her surgery ended up being right before and they were able to go. But things like that happen.
Yeah, it's just all part of life.
Or the people that I just talked about, they lost their jobs. So they couldn't afford it. They had every intention of going when we booked it. So
That
you
it,
just, you don't know. So,
yeah,
and that's part of my job, is to find you the best value for your money and protect your money the best as I can.
yeah, it's super nice to be able to go places. I remember what that was like. I haven't.
Seems
Yeah,
like a dream of long ago.
but not the case for you. You've been to a couple places lately,
I
so
have been.
yeah. So tell us about the recent one, and what did that feel like to be like outside in the sunshine across the water?
Well, and I know there's varying opinions on traveling during COVID, but I do get a lot of people asking me. So I thought it was best to experience it for myself. So, I am lucky enough working from home. My husband works from home. We don't have to go anywhere before our trip. We can quarantine before and after our trip. So, I feel blessed that we are able to do that. But and that's, not everybody can do that and everybody wants to do that. That's kind of a personal decision, but we can. Um, so I kind of wanted to get out and just see how things were going. So our first trip was actually in October to St. Lucia. Then in the first part of December, we went to Universal and Florida, SeaWorld. And then this picture is Sandals Royal Caribbean. in Jamaica. It's in Montego Bay, Jamaica. So, Sandals is trying to get agents out there. It's a good time with low capacity to get us out to actually see the properties.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I was telling you before, this property has like 30 room categories. So some of it is on where it's at, some of it, the room is slightly different. You have the Romeo and Juliet, which I've kind of always wondered what the Romeo and Juliet suite is. Well, it has a big bathtub in the middle of the room and a big open shower. It's for
Okay.
romance.
Now, so when you say open shower, that means it's open ceiling shower, right? Like open.
No, this was an inside. It was a glass enclosed shower.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you're right in the middle of the room. You take
Why?
a shower. Well, because it's romantic.
I'm sorry, that must not have been my style.
But they do have rooms, because I know this really got you going. They do have rooms with outdoor showers and bathtubs. So like my room had a bathtub on the balcony. And I don't think you can't see them in these pictures, but almost every balcony in this hotel had a bathtub on the balcony. You pull the drapes on the balcony shut and you have a private bath outside. Some of them actually have open air because there's privacy walls. So they have rondavel suites at some of them. So you're in a little private area and you have an open air shower and bath.
Which I just found super fascinating. I did. I really, because it's outside, but you had enough privacy that you could feel comfortable, being outside, taking a bath or a shower or whatever. It seems so adventurous and naughty at the same time. I'm like, wow, that would be an experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And the one you saw, they actually had the lattice that you could open and shut.
Plantation shutters.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, that you could open and shut, or you could open them all the way. So just depending on, but once you're down in the tub, nobody can see you.
Sure.
From that angle. So they couldn't see you. So I guess it's just how adventurous you are.
Well, not quite that adventurous. But I wouldn't mind having a butler. So you had recently done a webinar where you were on site with the Sandals crew, and you did this tour, this virtual tour of, was it the bungalows?
Over the water bungalows.
Over the water bungalows. And yes, there is a glass floor section, not the whole floor, but there is a section of floor in the bedroom that's glass, so you can see down into the water.
And so at night they have lights there, so that draws the sea life to that area.
I would never be sleeping. I would just be fascinated with my own floor aquarium.
Yeah.
I think that's the point. But
yes.
You showed off the Butler pantry, the Butler room, and that is for the butler to come bring you things.
So you have in certain room categories, not just the over the water bungalows, but they have lower price room categories where you have butler service. So with any of those rooms, first of all, you get private transportation from the airport. So at this particular resort, it was BMWs. The BMW came and picked you up at the airport. Instead of being checked in the hotel lobby, because, who could do that? You are whisked away to your room.
You're not a peasant.
So you are whisked away to your room, and the butler does the check-in in your room.
Wow.
So at that point, they go over with you, all of your food allergies, any activities that you want to do at the resort. Then your butler makes all of your reservations for you for any activities, any dining. They typically come and escort you to the restaurant. So they will come and get you and escort you to the restaurant. Or, one day we were taking the shuttle to the other Sandals resort. The butler was escorting the people to the shuttle. We were at the pool bar one day, and the people next to us had one of the over the water bungalows. And their butler was coming on shift. So she and the butler assistant, you have not only the butler, you have the butler assistant. She and the butler assistant came and found them at the pool and checked in with them, see how everything's going, make sure their plans for the night, confirmed everything, just sat and chatted. So Your butler, you get a cell phone that calls your butler. So you could be sitting down on the beach and call your butler and say, I need some room service or some drinks. I mean, they're already walking around to do that for you, but you can call your butler if you need anything and you get it quicker. So you can also call your butler and say, hey, we're going to be at the beach for another 30, 40 minutes. And then when I come back to the room, I want that fun drink that you had for me yesterday that I really liked. And I want the bath run for me outside. And when you get back to your room, the bath will be run and everything will be laid out and your drink will be sitting there.
Okay, so that's not just a vacation. Like that's a whole fantasy island experience. And I
Yeah.
just dated myself, if anybody knows what that show is.
Yes. So the butler takes care of any and everything you need for your entire stay. And you have access to the butlers during the day. And then like late at night, you just have the butler assistant. But yeah, you can call them 24 hours a day and somebody comes and does what you want.
That's amazing. So yeah, that's the type of vacation that you're like, it's a vacation. Like you're able to shut out the world, get pampered. Somebody else is helping, just thinking things through for you, taking care of it. And all you do is just experience what you want.
And the butlers at Sandals, not a lot of resorts have butler service, a little less. Some of them are same level, some of them are less service, but they're still called butlers. But Sandals are actually all trained at the British Association for Butlers.
So basically, in my little superhero world, I could go have a vacation and pretend it's Alfred the butler and I could be Batman if I wanted to. Not that I would, but I would have my own like Alfred.
Yes, that's it.
Wow.
And did you know we can also do that with villas around the world? So you rent a villa, you have butler and maid service, you have a private chef that comes into your villa. You can also get a private chauffeur.
Okay, so I'm glad that you brought up the villas because in the proverbial green room, so we always have green room time before we hit the record button. We brought up the cost of that. So villas are definitely a different price point.
Well, so at the Sandals, now villas you can do around the world, not just at Sandals, but and they're obviously with a butler and a cook. But the over the water villas at Sandals. So at this particular Sandals, they are 1,800 square feet.
Which, by the way, is bigger than where I live now.
So yeah, they're huge. I mean, I just walked into the bathroom and I'm like, this is the size of my bedroom and bathroom. It's massive. So you have the indoor tub and the outdoor tub, I think it was. But yeah, so for 3 days at one of the villas, that is for the days that I priced it out, which is I think was September, is about $20,000.
20,000
for 3 days.
Not $20, 20,000.
So there is a 3-day minimum on those. So what a lot of people do is they'll go check into a cheaper room for a couple days and then finish off their trip. But I will tell you, if you're interested in one, you cannot get one last minute usually. Sell out way in advance.
I would think that, well, for somebody like, somebody who lives in my price range, I'm a very frugal person. I live on a budget. I like to upcycle things and I do road trips if I can. So my vacation budget is not the 20,000. So I would think for a lot of us, that might be the dream come true. That's the honeymoon, the once in a lifetime experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your big anniversary or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Worth defining that memory really well for that.
Yeah.
And I'm positive at the end of the day, I have a feeling nobody walks away from that experience plunking down $20,000 going, that was the worst decision I ever made. I don't think anybody's ever going to say that.
No. Now I talked to some people in the bungalows in St. Lucia, and they did say that was a dream for them. They were glad they did it. They probably wouldn't do it again. So, because they said they weren't honeymooners. they wanted to be down at the main pool and they wanted to be doing some stuff. So they said, we really didn't take advantage of the bungalow as much as we thought we would.
Yeah.
But he did enjoy the snorkeling in the evenings with the lights on. He said that was really cool around because you have your own private snorkel gear there too.
So that was that. And I'm glad that you brought that part up, that, if you're not in the room as much as you think you're going to be. So, even at last August, I think it was, I needed a change of environment to get some work done. So I went to Pigeon Forge, and, from Louisville to there isn't all that far.
Right.
What, a 4.5 hour drive maybe.
Something like
And
that.
so I thought it through before I did it. I knew I wasn't interested in going shopping. We're straight up in the middle of COVID. I just needed a getaway.
Mhm.
And so I didn't mind paying a little extra for the full on cabin with the hot tub and the pool table. And like, it had plenty of stuff for me to play with there at the cabin. I knew I wasn't going to go experience any of the other stuff. And so I felt perfectly fine paying extra because I was experiencing everything there.
Right.
Now, for something, budgeting wise, I have this conversation when I help friends go to Disney. Like, I would love to stay at the Grand Floridian, but if I'm going to be in the parks most of the time, then is the stay at the Grand Floridian worth it if I'm not partaking in all that Grand Floridian has?
Right. And that's one of the things I try to do with clients as we're talking about budget. Do you spend a lot of time in your room? If you want the Butler level service, but you don't spend a lot of the time in the room, then let's go with the lowest end Butler service room.
Right.
Because you're not going to be there a whole lot. Now, on Sandals, since they do come around the property to help you with things, and you still get them around the property. So, but yeah, so that's one of the things we talk about when we look at budgets is how long will you be in the room? Do you really need the ocean view room? Or are you going to be on the beach all day?
Yeah.
When you're going on a cruise, are you going to be sitting on the balcony much? Maybe, maybe not. Alaska, yes, you're going to be sitting on the balcony more. In the middle of the ocean in the Caribbean, there's not a lot to see.
There's water everywhere.
So, that's one of the things that I do help with is, would you rather do the balcony room or more excursions if this is your budget?
Exactly. Okay. So tell me, what do you love most about what you do?
I love helping people make memories. After my father passed away, my mom had always wanted to go to Hawaii, and my mom always wanted to travel a little bit more than my dad did. And, before she passed away, we made a lot of great memories together. And so having people make those memories, and kind of in our family, our youngest is like, I'd rather go places than have stuff. So, we're making those memories with her that she remembers. And, we went to Canada 3 years ago, and there's probably we probably still talk about it a couple times a month. She talks about what she really liked about Canada. We took her to her first all-inclusive in Mexico 2019. And she talks about that probably every week. Just all the really cool and amazing stuff there. So I love helping people make those memories. I just had a client call me yesterday, and he just got back from Costa Rica, he and his wife and another couple that they know. And, just kind of wanted to let me know how the resorts were and what they really loved. And, just listening to him talk about what a fantastic time they had. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
And I really think it says something to getting to experience the world. I think that changes our perspective on things. So when you get sometimes even a little bit out of your comfort zone and experience the world in different ways, you're going to come back with a slightly different perspective. So I think I'm kind of in the Anthony Bourdain camp there. Travel changes you a bit.
It does. It really, really does, especially if you're experiencing, like, just talk to somebody that lives local.
Mhm.
When you take a moment to talk to one of those butlers or people who are serving you at the location, you
Right.
learn a lot more than you ever knew before. You can't just get this in the brochure. Like,
Mhm.
talk to them.
And you make those connections with people from other places. And I think that's just, in a world where we're kind of divided, I think that's so important is, they're not so different from us.
No, we really all have the same needs. We
Mhm.
all need a vacation.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And I'll be so glad when we can all start going on vacation. Because it's impacted me too. We had a trip to Costa Rica canceled last June. Um, we decided this was a school trip for my daughter. We decided to not go with the school to Costa Rica when they rescheduled, but to do our own. So we rescheduled for Paris this spring, thinking, oh, spring, it'll be fine. It'll be better.
Eh,
We're probably not going.
yeah.
So the Caribbean's open right now. Mexico's open.
Well,
Europe, not so much.
now Disney Epcot Paris has a new ride.
Well, but they're not open for foreign travelers as much. And a lot of things are closed.
At Epcot Disney?
Oh, Epcot Disney in the US. Well, you said I heard Disney Paris. So
I mean, I know in comparison to Disney, I am a foreigner. However,
yeah. And hey, Disney's doing COVID precautions really well. So
yeah.
Hey, it's a good option. Go to Paris.
Like, if you can't get to the Paris, there is a Paris in Epcot.
Yes.
That
Have
has
some pastries.
Right. And the Ratatouille ride is,
Mhm.
I think, open now. Is it open? I know they're finishing up or opening. But yes,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Epcot has amazing food.
Amazing food.
That steakhouse in the Paris pavilion is phenomenal. It was one of the most tender steaks I'd ever eaten in my life.
You mean in Canada?
No, Paris.
Okay, so Paris has the French restaurant, and then Canada has
Yes.
the
I'm sorry, the French restaurant where I had steak. Let me clarify specifically.
Yes.
To me, it's now my steak place because the steak
and frites. Okay, because usually when people talk about steak,
it's the Canada. Yeah,
it's the Canadian restaurant. Yeah,
I'd still love to go to Edward and Victoria's.
Yes,
that's that. I'm like, oof. That's out of my budget too, right now.
Well, and the last time we did Disney, we just went on full on with the Disney full on dining plan.
Yeah,
which is expensive.
And there's a lot.
But this was 3 sit-down meals a day. And with each sit-down meal, you got an appetizer, your main course, and your dessert. And not an appetizer to share with the table. You got an appetizer.
For yourself.
So, but our kids are appetizer and dessert kids. Sometimes they could care less about that main course. They want the appetizer and the dessert. And we didn't want to have to say no all the time. We wanted to say, this is what you get. And they're snackers too. They're big snackers. So we wanted to say, you have this many snack credits. This is what you get for each meal. And here are your snack credits. If you didn't like dinner, here's your snack credits. That will get you some pretty hearty snacks at some places. So but we're not spending a lot more money on food. So we refer to that trip as the eating marathon. It was just about eating at that point because 3 sit-down meals a day. So
you can barely walk after eating that much anyway. And it's like, thank God there's an amusement park here. I got to walk so far to get to the point that I can get.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, but Disney has some of the most amazing food.
They really do. They really do. My favorite still is the Seas in Epcot.
Okay. Yes.
It does feel a little weird to eat seafood while you're at the aquarium. You're watching them swim by. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is really good.
Yes, we like that one too. Our favorite was Tiffin's in Animal Kingdom.
Haven't eaten there yet.
So it was amazing. It was just amazing. And I
Now,
think it was one that was 2 credits. So some of our meals were 2 credits.
yeah.
And some of the character dining's 2 credits, but still we ate more than we could possibly eat.
Now,
And
my absolute go-to when I go to Disney for just the experience of it is Sci-Fi Diner. I mean,
it's fun.
it's me. I gotta go.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. It's not the best food, but you're there for the experience.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's more of the all-American,
Yeah.
diner kind of food.
Mhm.
It's not the super fancy stuff, and that's
Right.
okay. Okay. So, as part of, business ownership and all that kind of stuff, you've switched from being a teacher, built this business. Now you're overcoming the adversity of COVID. Just is what it is with that. Because usually I'll say, "What's your biggest challenge?" Well, right now that's a huge obvious. So, who have been some of your biggest influencers in your business for you?
In my business, for me, it's been the people that I work with in my host agency. So what you probably don't realize is I am a business owner. I have a business, but most travel agents actually work through a host agency. So I'm completely independent from them, but I get to use their connections and contacts.
Yes.
So that gets us sometimes exclusive deals that you can't book other places. Um, it also, they do all of my training, all of my support. They run my website. So all of that kind of stuff. And our national sales manager has just been, well, he's the one that made me quit my job last year after listening to him talk for a week. So he's just motivational and just, you know, that was a training for newer agents. So although I'd been in for a couple of years, I'd been so part-time that I went to do this kind of basic training and just meeting the other agents that were getting started. And, we're all comparing notes and um, that, just listening to each other and learning from each other. But I would say just some of those people through my host agency have just been phenomenal to learn from. And then the other people I learned from is like I went on this trip with my sandals, my local rep for sandals. Um, so I get to know some of these local reps, and they really help me with a lot of product knowledge about their product, particularly. So
So, what has been one of the best pieces of advice you've ever gotten?
just, well, one is because, in my mind, I kind of said, I'm just going to be a travel agent. Everybody's going to book with me. Right.
Uh,
And I knew that wasn't really going to happen. But, my husband and a couple other people saying 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years is when you're going to. So when I get discouraged, I think just some of the people saying that. And it's just been a roller coaster. It's just been a roller coaster. And I think just the support system I have with other agents has really helped that because we're all going through the same thing. We're all going through the same thing.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So what does success mean to you?
Success means that my clients come home and they loved their trip.
Nice.
That's my success. They loved their trip. My client that I talked to yesterday just got back from Costa Rica. I actually got him as a referral. He saw me on LinkedIn. He doesn't even live in Kentucky, but we have one mutual friend. And it was, we're going to Portugal next, so you'll be booking that.
Nice.
He'd always booked all of his own trips before. He'd never used an agent. And now he was sold because, I got his price lowered after he booked. I can't always do that. So don't get your hopes up. But sometimes I can do that. So I got his price lowered significantly after he'd booked. I took care of, calling him and saying, hey, make sure you get your health forms filled out. Hey, make sure you get this done. Fill out your travel authorization. Just kind of took care of it. And he said, it was one of the smoothest trips they'd ever been on just because everything was taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think success is. And, if I never have a multi-million dollar business or, a couple million in sales a year, that's okay because I've helped families and I've helped people make memories.
Exactly. Okay. So help with one of the popular questions I get all the time. Not all, I say all the time, but whenever I talk about doing travel stuff, is it true that you can get free trips as a travel agent?
Rarely, rarely do you get a free trip. So sometimes some resorts will offer you a free trip. Um, Now, once you start selling a couple million a year in sales, you get free trips all the time. So, but no, you work really hard to get 1 or 2 free days someplace. You have to book a lot of people to get 1 or 2 free days someplace. We do get travel agent rates. During COVID, they're great. Those agent rates are awesome. And we can book in advance, but sometimes you have to book 30 days in advance or less. You have to be kind of flexible. So no, free trips are very few. Um, Again, like I said, I start selling a couple million sales a year. They're all going to be after me, giving me free trips, but that's not happening. That's a very few percent. That's a very small percentage of the people selling travel.
I mean, I know that, but I just want everybody else to hear that because it's
If you're getting into it because of the free trips, you're going to be sadly disappointed and you're not going to last long.
exactly. So, all right, let's do, what advice would you give others in business?
Train, 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 train. Have a plan before you ever tell anybody you're opening a business.
I like that.
Before you make that announcement, make sure you have a plan for when that first client comes in. And that's harder to do for my business, but I did get, I worked on the back end of things, the CRM, the software, all of that before I had my first client. But some of it's just learning on the job. But for me, it's a little bit harder because I'm not an expert in everything. So when I have a client call me up for something unique and different, I do have to do a lot of research. But that's made easier because I have done a lot of training on a lot of the basic things. I know a lot about sandals resorts. I know a lot about all the cruise lines. I know a lot about different suppliers and different insurance companies so I'm prepared. But, I would say just I jumped the gun a little on that. But so I would say make sure that you have a good plan, make sure you do training, make sure you know exactly what you're going to do when you get your first client.
That sounds like great advice.
Miss Planner there.
Thank you for that.
Because I'm not. I can show you my mess right now.
That's what I help people do is, get the proverbial shit together before you get it out there.
Right.
Even in my own business, I've run so fast, even with my plan, but the part I didn't include in my plan was how to keep it clean along the way. So I had to do like a full stop to go back and clean some stuff up process wise, because there was no space to bring in new people into my little bubble. And so now I'm cleaning it up so that other people are like, not looking at me like, what did you do here? I'm like,
yeah,
I just did it. I'm done with that. We're moving on.
It worked fine for me.
Right. Yeah. So we all have those places where we have to stop and, stop for a moment, clean up, plan for the next stage. And, if you haven't launched yet, she's right. Make a plan first and then let people know. You have your inner circle of, hey, I'm thinking about this. This is what are your thoughts? But before you, put your proverbial sign on the street there, yeah, you might want to have a plan for that.
Before you publish that Facebook page. and invite everybody you know.
Because you're like, then what? Now what?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what's your favorite place to go?
My favorite place. Well, we like unusual places. So, a favorite trip so far has probably been Cambodia, Thailand.
Ooh, nice.
Um, my favorite all-inclusive resorts, and sorry, Sandals, don't let them hear this, is Sandals is a great resort, is Hotel Xcaret in just south of Cancun, Playa del Carmen area.
Look, so side note, I did some research on that place for a client who wanted to go. They had to back out last minute for health reasons, family health reasons.
Uh-huh.
That was the first time I had seen that place. And I was like, oh, it's now on my list. I want to go.
So it is definitely, it's a little bit higher price than a lot of resorts. It's not the highest price resort by any means, but you have zip lining and jet boating, and your tours are included of like Chichen Itza, Tulum. They're included in the price.
Yeah.
They have an eco park, which they do like a sea turtle breeding program, and they do a red macaw breeding program.
Like there's animals everywhere.
And it's a eco-friendly resort too. They pride themselves on that. And they have, you can do cave swimming and ATVs through caves and ATVs through the jungle, and it's all included. So especially if you're more active or parts of your group are more active, that is a great option.
Yeah.
The food was some of the most amazing food I've ever had. I'll just say.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep that on my list because that's definitely a place I want to go.
Yeah.
Okay, bonus questions before we head out. So this is going to be something a little new for my podcast. I'm just going to do some very quick bonus questions. Quick,
okay.
Don't overthink it. Ready?
Okay.
And these are real basic. So favorite music?
Prince.
Favorite movie?
Harry Potter.
Okay. Favorite restaurant?
That's too hard.
Okay. Favorite food?
Favorite food, seafood.
Okay. And favorite game? Clearly not bonus round questions.
Well, so favorite game is, we've been playing a lot of board games. But honestly, I love video games.
Okay.
So it's probably whatever new video game I'm playing, but PlayStation Pinball is awesome. And then I just finished Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
So full on gaming. Yeah.
Okay. And I ask these bonus questions because I want to know more about that side of people too, not just their business side. Okay. And favorite celebrity?
Favorite celebrity. That one's hard too. Although recently I've just loved Chrissy Teigen because she's just so down to earth and hilarious. So I probably just Chrissy Teigen because she makes me laugh. When I read the stuff that she's put out there, it just makes me laugh. Whether I agree with it 100% or not, she just kind of puts it all out there and she makes me laugh. So I tend to like those type of celebrities. That Anthony Bourdain used to be my favorite before he passed away. So.
Yeah. Okay. Any last words of advice? Any
words of wisdom regarding travel right now is I think as soon as things open up a little bit more, you're going to find very limited availability. So I'm saying not only buy the travel insurance, but book for 2022 now. Whatever components of it you can book. You can't book flights yet, but you can book land portions. You can book cruises. So whatever you're just dying to do for your first trip out, book it now, because especially times like spring break, summer, fall breaks are just going to be
crazy.
They're going to be crazy busy, and you're not going to get what you want.
So you're saying already start booking for 22.
22.
Yep. Okay. Very good. Well, Tara, thank you so much for being our guest on this episode of Small Business Small Talk. Thank you to all of you who come and show up and listen to these shows. If you have somebody that you're like, I'm just dying to know more about this person, tell me, and I'll see if I can get them on the show. Otherwise, we thank you again for your time today. Tara, again, thank you so much for all the conversation about travel.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. I mean, it's personally one of my favorite things because I love to travel so much.
Yeah.
So I knew this would be fun. We would not have a not one lick of problem talking this long. So
Not a problem.
not a problem. So again, thank you to all of you who have watched and are subscribing. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Subscribe on your favorite channel, YouTube, Facebook pages, anything through your podcast stations. Subscribe so you'll know when we start launching new episodes, which will be weekly and in 2 seasons for 21. Thanks, everybody.